Welcome to the session on Sree Narayana Guru, Vedanta for Human Liberation. The philosophy of Advaita Vedanta inspired and conditioned the thoughts of many Indian thinkers of the 18th and 19th centuries like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. They could succeed in the mission to utilize the practical and applied dimensions of Advaita Vedanta for ushering in social change. Swami Vivekananda developed new Vedanta by shifting the focus of Advaita philosophy from the misleading concepts like the illusoriness of the world and renunciation of action to the core postulate of the unity of all existence. The neo Vedantins viewed Vedanta as an instrument for establishing human equality and freedom based on the essential spirituality of all beings. The philosophy of Sree Narayana Guru is no doubt rooted in the metaphysics of Advaita Vedanta. Without diluting the transcendental dimension of spiritual experience in the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, that is Aparokshanubhuti, Sree Narayana Guru could transform it into a weapon of social change. He drew out of the philosophy of oneness in Advaita his critique of the caste hierarchy, human inequality and religious dogmatism. Sree Narayana Guru's philosophical commitment to metaphysical non-dualism is not opposed to other systems of thought like the Vishishtadvaita of Ramanujacharya, Dvaita of Madhavacharya, nor even to the heterodox philosophies like Buddhism, Jainism and Lokayata. Every such school will find its place in Sree Narayana Guru's all-inclusive vision of reality. Sree Narayana Guru first of all dared to challenge the taboo on non-Brahmins to learn the classical texts of Indian wisdom, and entering the avenues of the truth hidden so far, he reiterated the Vedanta principle of the innate divinity of all creations. Based on this principle, he proceeded to derive the fact of the unity of humanity as logically necessary. Thus, he could bring out the folly of segregating and marginalizing the masses by denying them the natural dignity and freedom as human beings. The immense contributions made by him to reform the socio-cultural and religious life of Kerala have earned him the befitting epithet Yuga Purushan, or the leading light of the age. The life of Sree Narayana Guru. Narayana Guru was born on the 20th of August 1854 at Vayalvaram House in Chemparandi, a village 10 miles north of Trivandrum, the capital of Kerala. His name was Narayanan and his parents called him Nanu. His father, Madan Ashan, was a farmer belonging to the Izhava community. He was also an Ashan or village tutor. Nanu's mother, Kutti Amma, was a pious woman of gentle disposition. Nanu had two sisters. His uncle, Krishnan Vaidyar, was an Ayurvedic physician of considerable repute. Religion as well as devotion came naturally to him even from his early childhood, as he followed the footsteps of his elders who worshipped regularly at the goddess temple adjacent to Nanu's ancestral home. Nanu had his early education in Malayalam and Sanskrit under the guidance of Chemparandi Pillai and completed this in 1872. He was then sent to Varanapalli for further studies under a distinguished Sanskrit scholar, Sri Kummampilli Ramampillai Ashan, who helped him to master both Sanskrit and Malayalam. This study also provided him the opportunity to master several religious classics, especially the epics Ramayana and the Mahabharata. He gradually rose to the role of school leader owing to his unparalleled grasping power, sharp intelligence and profound memory. He used to spend several hours daily in silent contemplation and meditation, unhindered by the world around. The experiments that he conducted in diet using natural foods and leaves during this period proved very helpful during his mendicant years later on. After his student days, he took to teaching like his father and spent most of his time in the presence of the temple expounding philosophical principles and moral and religious values. In 1882, Nanu, as part of convention, got married to one of his cousins. However, he informed his wife that a different destiny was awaiting him and he left home to assume the life of an ascetic. He then delved deep into Tamil classics like Tirukkural, Tirumandiram, Tiruppugal, Tiruppavai, Oluvil Ottugam, Shiva Puranam, etc. At that time, the young mendicant got the opportunity to use the rare collection of philosophical literature in Tamil and Sanskrit at the residence of Perunalli Krishnan Vaidyar, an erudite scholar and poet. It was during this period of spiritual regimentation and quest that he came across his contemporary saint Kunjan Pillai Shanmugadas, who later came to be known as Chattambi Swamigal and Velutheri Keshavan Vaidyar. Both were well versed in Tamil and Sanskrit classics and Shaiva philosophy. Unlike the soft and introvert Nanu Ashan, Sri Chattambi Swamigal was assertive, outgoing and ferocious in his attack on caste and related social evils in Hindu religion. Chattambi Swamigal introduced Nanu Ashan to Thaikata Ayyavu, an adept in Hatha Yogi. The yoga lessons increased his thirst for spiritual liberation manifold, and eventually he moved to Pillatadam on the crest of Maruthwa Malai in Kanyakumari. There he undertook an intense penance for 6 years. Just as Siddhartha Gautama had attained enlightenment under the peepal tree in Gaya, Nanu Ashan received enlightenment in a cave at Maruthwa Malai, and here his spiritual transformation as Sri Narayana Guru, a mukta or liberated soul, was complete. In his philosophical classic Atmobadesha Shadagam, the Guru describes his realization in poignant words. I quote, "If an arid desert most expansive should become overflooded by river water all at once, such would be the rising symphony, falling into the ears to open then the eye, do therefore daily become the best of sages endowed with self-control." Unquote. After attaining self-realization, Sri Narayana Guru spent his time for a while as a recluse in a thick forest on the banks of the river Neyyar at Arivipuram. It was a young boy called Parameshwaran Pillai who spotted the Guru there, and through him the world came to know about the presence of a yogi at Arivipuram. Here he brought relief to many who were afflicted with diseases by prescribing Ayurvedic medicines. In those days of extreme caste segmentation, only Brahmins were allowed to perform the temple rituals, including the installation of an idol. Guru challenged this orthodoxy and vindicated the right of all, irrespective of caste distinction, to enter the temples and to worship God. He performed the sacred act of the installation of the Shivalinga at Arivipuram in 1888. This annoyed the upper caste people but encouraged the lower caste people and the outcast to assert their voice against the age-old oppression and exploitation. Following the Guru's path, several moderate and radical stalwarts from different communities came forward to create public awareness against the vices of casteism that had plagued the Kerala society for centuries. Gradually, it took the form of an organized challenge to the dogmatism and orthodoxy that had been built in favor of the upper crust. The role that Narayana Guru played was only that of a catalyst and not as a fighter in the front lines. To others, he set an example with his own personal life. His high dignity and sense of oneness with humankind did not allow him to give vent to anger or protestation against any particular person or community. He believed that there was only one caste for man, and that was humanity. In this attitude, he was uncompromising. In the year 1907, Narayana Guru left Arivipuram and came to live on a hillock which was not far from the temple of Janardhana. 18 years after the founding of Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam at Arivipuram, Narayana Guru consecrated a temple at Shivagiri and dedicated it to Sharada, the goddess of wisdom. Within this period, the Guru had travelled extensively and founded a number of temples such as in Anjanga and Peringotugara, Thrissur, Kannur, Talasheri, Kozhikode and Mangalore. The new headquarters and the Sharada temple, founded in 1912, provided the Guru with a more open place and a fertile field for the incubation of the global ideals of human dignity and emancipation. He personally administered the center and initiated several spiritual aspirants into the sacred order of sannyasa or renunciation. A cross-section of the Kerala community could be seen among his sannyasin disciples. His first sannyasin disciple was Shivalinga Swami. Nataraja Guru was another eminent disciple of Sree Narayana Guru who spearheaded the teachings and the work of Sree Narayana Guru. P. Natarajan, which was his original name, was the son of the illustrious Dr. Palpu, who was one of the founders of Sree Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam. Natarajan had come into contact with Sree Narayana Guru and experienced the Gurukula way of life in Alve and Ooty before becoming headmaster at Varkala High School, which had been founded by Sree Narayana Guru. It was after the conference of all religions at Alve that Natarajan founded his Narayana Gurukulam movement and University for the Science of the Absolute in 1924. Nataraja Guru travelled widely around the world and in 1963 established the Brahma Vidya Mandiram at Shivagiri in Varkala. He translated into English and wrote commentaries on all the major works of Sree Narayana Guru. He also wrote on a wide variety of subjects, employing throughout a pro-linguistic or structural approach. Through a series of installations of differently conceived deities, the Guru also wanted to educate the masses. The secret of the sacredness of temples and the mystery of divinity, screened away from the eyes of all except the privileged classes, was now thrown open to the public by the temples of Sree Narayana Guru. When Shivagiri was well established as a center, he went further north to Alve near Kaladi and founded the Advaita Ashram, where he got his essential teaching inscribed for all. One in kind, one in faith, one in God is man. Of one same womb, one same form, difference none there is at all. The Guru became seriously ill in September 1928 and remained bedridden for some time. He attained Mahasamadhi on September the 20th, 1928. Let us now take a look at Sree Narayana Guru's interpretation of Advaita Vedanta. Shankaracharya is regarded as the chief exponent of the philosophy of Advaita, although the philosophy of non-dualism existed before his time in various shades. Every philosopher is a product of his age, and Shankaracharya, with his unequalled intellectual prowess and analytical skill, delved deep into the philosophical heritage that he inherited from his predecessors and interpreted it to build one of the most rigorous philosophical systems of the world. Shankaracharya presented the sum and substance of Advaita in the aphoristic half verse, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva na para. The absolute or Brahman alone is real. The world is unreal. The individual self in its true sense is the Brahman itself and no other. The purport of all the Shrutis is the proclamation of the non-duality of the absolute and individual self, according to Shankaracharya. He asserted that the multiplicity that we experience through our senses and mind is an eternal illusion born out of nescience. Though both of them are Vedantins, Sree Narayana Guru's approach to Advaita Darshana is different from Shankaras, and this lies in the manner in which the logical conclusions of its central concept is worked out. While Shankaracharya logically derives the means of individual liberation from the principle of non-dualism, Sri Narayana Guru, even as retaining the goal of spiritual self-realization, further makes use of the principle of non-distinction between the absolute and its necessary manifestations as a tool for social emancipation and transformation. This makes him more than a mukta, a bodhisattva, who out of relentless compassion proceeds to help all those who need and deserve to be liberated from the bonds of samsara. This distinction places Narayana Guru among the neo-Vedantins like Swami Vivekananda and makes him a traditionalist with difference. Guru extends the Advaita concept to infer the non-duality of Bhava and Sat, that is, the apparent world of multiplicity and the eternal Brahman. Using the analogies of the ocean and waves and gold ornaments, he points out that multiplicity is but only name and form superimposed on the substratum Brahman. Beyond these apparent names and forms, the world is identical to and inseparable from Brahman. It is avidya that creates the sense of separateness and divisiveness. Once liberated from the negative force of avidya, we get the right perception of reality as one beyond all apparent distinctions. If this is the truth, then all divisions of humanity based on the artificial norms like caste are logically and spiritually absurd. This realization of the essential non-duality of all reality liberates the humankind from all miseries. It is this realization of the ultimate truth that is necessary for the champions of upper caste purity as well as for the disoriented masses of the lower strata in the caste hierarchy. Released from avidya, one finds both birth and death as unreal. Therefore, rebirth is meaningful only in the realm of avidya. Sri Narayana Guru categorically says, I quote, "Neither is there death nor birth nor life duration here, nor men nor gods nor others of that order, all in name and form. Like a mirage based on desert sands is this thing that stands, nor is it a thing at all with any content note." Atmopadesh Shatakam, verse 78. According to Muni Narayana Prasad, these names and forms become configured in the one ariva or spiritual wisdom owing to the karma inherent in it. Seen as that ariva or atma, I was never born and I will never die, for the one underlying substance is birthless and deathless. This vision, this enlightenment makes me immortal or amrita, one who transcends death. Let us now take a look at the path to liberation as suggested by Sri Narayana Guru. Sri Narayana Guru does not insist on a single path to attain the goal of self-realization. For him, all the four paths of Hinduism, the way of action, that is karma marga, the way of knowledge, jnana marga, the path of devotion, bhakti marga, the way of yoga, yoga marga, are equally valuable. These different paths to liberation are described at length in his works like Darshanamala, Atmopadesha Shadakam and Municharya Panchakam. The Guru, in keeping with the tradition of Advaita, believes in the concept of liberation while still continuing in this body called Jivan Mukti. In this condition, the Atman, while remaining encased in the body, remains totally detached and aloof to the world. The Guru uses the terms like Muni, Sthitaprajna, Atmajnani, Avadhuta, etc. as the synonyms of the Jivan Mukta. The characteristics of the Muni are described in the Atmopadesha Shadakam thus, I quote, "Of these silent ones, whoever dwell awake to Om, absolved from birth, steadily fix the form." Atmopadesha Shadakam, verse 7. Such Jivan Muktas lead a life of undisturbed peace and genuine knowledge, holding on to the highest values, relentlessly performing service to others. Although outwardly dynamic, they remain still and unperturbed, and as they have given up all desires in material life. The first 6 verses of the Nirvana Darshanam of Darshanamala give a clear picture of the Guru's concept of liberation from a practical and philosophical point of view. According to the Guru, moksha is of 2 kinds, the pure and the impure. That which is pure is devoid of incipient memory factors, while the impure is conjoined with incipient memory factors. Even the pure form of moksha is further classified into the pure and the most pure. Similarly, the impure moksha is classified into impure pure and impure impure. The impure pure is devoid of rajas and tamas and is rooted in sattva, while the impure impure has all the 3 gunas. The pure is established in the knowledge of Brahman. The knower of Brahman exists as Brahman, and at this stage there is no distinction between the knower and the known. Having burnt everything impure, aiming only at the good of the world, the Jivan Mukta performs actions according to what is right. Renouncing all actions and establishing in the Absolute, he continues the course of his life in wandering. Darshanamala, Nirvana Darshanam, verse 1 to 6. In the last verse of the Atmopadesha Shadakam, that is verse 100, one finds the finest expression of the Guru's concept of realization in terms of self-knowledge. I am neither this nor that, nor the content of what is perceived as being. Know it to be pure existence, all-embracing consciousness and the joy immortal. Be brave with such clear vision, discard all attachment to being and non-being, and gently, gently merge in that truth that fills all with enlightenment and serene joy. Om. Let us now take a look at the social dimensions of liberation according to Sri Narayana Guru. What distinguishes and sets the philosophy of Sri Narayana Guru apart from others who subscribe to the philosophy of Advaita is that in the Guru we find the multiple dimensions of the philosophy of non-dualism and its logical repercussions worked out to its logical conclusion. As Gautama Buddha had done, Guru had been keen on sharing the fruits of his enlightenment with his fellow beings to lead the miserable lot around him from darkness to light. Hence, Sri Narayana Guru regarded Vedanta as an important and effective tool for establishing social justice and for creating a progressive egalitarian society free from social evils. Duality, according to the Guru, is to be eliminated from the entire range of human activity. Distinctions of race, caste, language and custom give an appearance of variety to the species, but they are neither natural nor intrinsic to the human species. He realized that the denial of religious freedom, unequal enjoyment of social status, loss of human purity and pollution, superstitions, illiteracy, economic deprivation and lack of scientific temper impeded the humanistic secular life in traditional societies. This inscription on the walls of the Arivipuram temple epitomizes the teachings of the Guru. I quote, "This is the ideal place where all live in full harmony without distinction of caste or prejudice of creed." Unquote. Guru raised his voice against long-standing superstitions and retrogressive customs. He put an end to several meaningless, expensive and conservative practices like Taligatta, child marriage, Tiranduguli, public announcement of a girl attaining puberty, and Puligudi, a primitive custom of drinking a concoction during the 7th month of the first pregnancy. He could prove that none of these customs and rituals is prescribed or sanctioned for the genuine spiritual perfection of human beings. Sri Narayana Guru understood that without bringing about a sea change in the lifestyle and religious practices of the Avarnas, it was impossible to make their lives refined and progressive. Guru tried to make the Avarna castes aware of the inferior lifestyle and worship patterns imposed upon them by the Savarnas. The worship of the deities of the Hindu pantheon like Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesha, Subramanya, etc. was the privilege of the people of higher castes. The large majority of the people of lower castes were permitted to worship only inferior local deities like Chatan, Madan, Yakshi, etc. And this in fact implied a superior or inferior division even between gods. The offerings to these deities consisted of crude items like animal blood, roasted bran and intoxicating drinks. The peaceful revolution initiated by the Guru indirectly asserted that all members of society had equal right to enter the places of worship and that the Avarnas had the legitimate right to learn and teach the religious literature hitherto monopolized by the upper caste Hindus. Guru's innovations regarding temples and temple practices aimed at both spiritual and material advancement of people. He insisted on a simple form of worship that could be followed even by the poorest in the society. In the holy presence at the temples established by him, he made provision for gardens, reading rooms and schools with facility for teaching technical skills. He even took the very idea of temple worship to a highly impersonal and spiritual plane. In the Murukumbuda temple near Thiruvananthapuram, the Guru installed a lighted lamp with the words truth, duty, compassion and love displayed in the background. Guru's reforms regarding temple practices gave a new meaning to the process of modernization in Kerala. As a result, people of all classes and denominations became conscious of the folly of their conventional dogmas and superstitions in the guise of religious faith. Sree Narayana Guru successfully founded the values of human dignity, equality and freedom on the solid crux of Advaita philosophy. He emphasized the role and significance of it in creating the right perspective about good life. His vision of education underlined the objectives of the freedom of the individual in society, the freedom to choose any occupation irrespective of the barriers of caste and tradition, perfect equality of status and opportunity, and overall social progress. In those days, it was quite a radical idea to emphasize universal education, especially technical education and the education of the poor and women. Yet, Guru was bold enough to motivate his followers to start schools for the weaker sections and to influence a public policy on education. If we realize the value of educating the masses in the context of a social renaissance in India, it is clear that Sree Narayana Guru had a pioneering role in emphasizing it. Economic development was another major concern of the Guru. He was well aware of the limitations of the feudal system of production in terms of products and progress. Guru inspired his followers to organize agro-industrial exhibitions all over Kerala with a view to enable the downtrodden people to learn about technology and its impact on production. In these exhibitions, finished products, tools of production and machines for modernizing cottage industries from all parts of India, Burma and Ceylon were exhibited. The increase in the entrepreneurial ability of Avarnas in Kerala over the years was the result of the Guru's emphasis on science and technology, occupational mobility and industrialization. There is no doubt that in Sree Narayana Guru there was a fine blend of a spiritual genius and a social realist. Let us now summarize the session. An important distinguishing feature of modern Indian thought ever since the Renaissance that commenced in the 18th century was the revival of Vedanta Darshana, which undoubtedly was the most influential school of classical Indian philosophy. Modern Indian thinkers had absorbed the fresh ideas of equality, fraternity and freedom that emerged in the West with the French Revolution, but most of them were inspired by the ancient Indian philosophical tradition, especially by Vedanta. However, Vedanta as it was practiced prior to the Indian Renaissance was mere lip service to the glory of Vedanta without much concern for real social life. Normally, the minority who had access to the scriptures of the Vedanta sought their own personal salvation and never felt the need to share this knowledge with the common people. Hence, the laity was mostly kept away from the valuable teachings in our classical literature. The spiritual luminaries of the 19th century, like Sree Narayana Guru, gave Vedanta a completely new interpretation and orientation. Vedanta was treated by the Guru as a manual of life with a universal appeal irrespective of the distinctions of caste, creed, race or nationality. Vedanta, according to him, had the potential to enlighten and liberate the masses in every dimension of the word liberate. His own spiritual quest and subsequent enlightenment prove that he had fully realized the powers of Vedanta to lead a person to individual spiritual liberation from the repeated cycles of birth and death. Nevertheless, what marks out the Guru's interpretation of Vedanta is the way he used it as an effective tool for social liberation and cultural renaissance. It is an irony that a nation that had contributed the lofty ideals of the Upanishads herself had succumbed to the inhuman practices like caste discrimination and untouchability. The land that was once envied for its abundance of wealth had reduced itself to a state of utter poverty and dilapidation. It is on these lines that the Guru's Vedanta worked. The ideal of absolute unity propagated by Advaita Vedanta can be completely realized only if we can achieve the goals of human unity and equality, socio-economic progress and cultural emancipation, and this has been demonstrated by the life and mission of Sree Narayana Guru. Now, let me suggest to you a few assignments based on this particular topic. Give an account of Sree Narayana Guru's family and schooling. Give a brief description of the Guru's spiritual quest. Give an account of the features of Sree Narayana Guru's interpretation of Advaita Vedanta. What were the steps taken by the Guru to purify the temple worship of the Avarnas? What were the steps suggested by the Guru for economic development? Now, I can suggest to you some excellent books that are connected to this particular topic. The first of which is The Works of Sree Narayana Guru with Complete Interpretation. This was authored by Professor G. Balakrishnan Nair and it was published by the State Institute of Language Publication in the year 2003. Another important work is The Philosophy of Sree Narayana Guru, produced by Professor S. Omana. This was published by Narayana Gurukulam Varkala in the year 1984. Another work also by Professor Omana is Sree Narayana Guru Jeevitavum Darshanavum, published by the Kerala State Institute of Language Publication in the year 2013. Another important work is Narayana Guru, a Social Educator. This work was penned by Pereira J. Gerald and it was published by RR Publishers in the year 1989. Another significant work is Sree Narayana Guru, written by Sri M. K. Sanu, published by the National Bookstall in the year 1999. A very important work in the series would be Sree Narayana Guruvinte Samburnha Kritigal, written by Professor T. Bhaskaran, published by Madhrubhumi Publications, Kozhikode. Another work is Sree Narayana Guru, authored by Moorkothu Kunyappa, published by National Book Trust in the year 2008. Another important work is The Philosophy of Sree Narayana Guru, authored by Sri Muni Narayana Prasad. This was published by DK Print World, New Delhi in the year 2003. Let me now introduce you to some important web links. The first is www.gurudevan.info. Another is www.sreenarayanaguru.in. Another very informative link is www.gurudevacharitam.blogspot.in. Another one is www.shodhganga.org. www.inflibnet.ac.in. Another one is www.parikar.org. With this, we come to the end of the session entitled Sree Narayana Guru Vedanta for Human Liberation. Thank you.